early here, but either way, I'm here. So I guess I'll start off with I'm Robert, and you're always welcome here in my busy little shop. Today, I thought I would just take a couple minutes. I wanted to show you a couple projects that I've been working on. I wanted to also share a couple thoughts, things that I've been thinking about here lately that I thought I would pass along as well. So first, I appreciate you being here, trying to figure out what the best time to create a live is a little bit of a challenge for me at times. Try to figure out, am I a Friday night late live stream? I'm not sure I'm that crowd. And I've always been an early riser, so I figured maybe Saturday morning while you're drinking your cup of coffee, maybe you'd follow along here. So, well, first, on my last live that I did, I was showing some parts on a bag that I was working on. You can see it down here behind me. Why don't I scoot down there and I'll show you how that came out. Sorry. So, it is not 100% finished. I've got some edge work to do on it yet. But I think it really turned out nice. These are the handles, and I think the day that you were watching, I was working on this piece right there. But I think it turned out pretty nice. And shoot, I thought I would be a lot quicker with the sewing machine. There's still so many pieces in this. I should have went through and counted each element that you have to make to create the bag. There's 2 pockets inside, and each pocket's 2 pieces. There's 4 pieces there. Well, actually, that's not true, because there's a couple of clips and such that used to, keys and different things to organize the inside of it. But there's probably 25 pieces that I had to create, to put together to create the bag. So I think it turned out really pretty nice. So anyway, I just thought that'd be a little tie-in to the last time that we were here. I did have a couple other that I wanted to show you. I wanted to show you a clutch that I made not long ago. This is a pretty nice clutch. Opens up here. And this morning I've got a belt that I need to get finished today. I know, I'm the one that said don't take on more than you can get done, and today's kind of my last good day in the shop. I'll be able to work on a few other things, but I've got a couple wallets I'm working on here, and let me flip this around here and I'll let you see what I'm working on here. This is just a simple pouch wallet. Gentleman, I'll call him the popcorn guy. He was looking for something that would hold 8 or 10 credit cards and such, and a dozen business cards, and this is what we came up with. And he said he wanted it in brown, and wasn't too sure. He just said a brown. So I've got a couple of them here I'm making, and I think I'm going to make yet one more in a different shade of brown to try to find what he's looking for. And I'll be delivering that to him here in the next few days. So yeah, so I'm working on that. And shoot, I was trying to think. I had a couple things that I wanted to talk about, and I got thinking, and I'm going to change directions here a little bit. This time of year can be really stressful for a lot of people. And I was talking with one of my sister-in-laws the other day, and I told her, I said, I was kind of embarrassed, when I got older, to realize that when I realized this, that it took me that long to realize it. And you guys are all probably a lot smarter than me, and you think of these things beforehand. But we were talking about, I think it started, somebody had cut them off on the freeway. And then when they realized what they had done, they raised their hand like, sorry, didn't mean to do that. And where I'm going with it is, I used to think when I was having a bad day, I was the only one in the world walking around having a bad day. Everybody else was having fun. And we don't really realize what someone might be going through when we interact with them. And it might be a It might be a case where you're at the grocery store and you're standing in line and someone just walks right in front of you and doesn't even notice that you're there. It seems like you're invisible. And I think our response a lot of times is to be kind of like, hello, I was here first. And I think when we do that, we don't realize what other people could be going through at that moment. And they didn't cut in front of you because they were inconsiderate. They didn't even see you. You weren't in their world at all. The stress that they're going through or such could be what's causing them to do that. So, as I think about it, it'd be nice if we could, and believe me, I'm not a saint. I'm not perfect. Never claim to be perfect. I try to do the right thing each day, but when we go through our day, we don't realize the people that are around us and what they're going through. And like I said, you guys are probably all like, duh, everybody knows that. But I don't know. I was probably in my 30s before it really hit me that, I'm not the only one having a rough day today. And where my conversation went with my sister-in-law was that it really got me thinking that when you're going through your day, I think that this is a good way to think about it. I don't believe that you ever have a neutral effect on anyone. I think it's either a positive or a negative. And I think if you try to keep that mindset when you're confronted with someone that, like I said, maybe you're in the checkout line and someone just, maybe you left a little bit of space in front of you and someone stepped in there and started putting their stuff up on the cart. It could be that, believe it or not, they didn't even see you. And we have a tendency to, pop off and like, hey, what are you doing? And then now you've stepped into their world. And so when I say you don't have a neutral effect on someone, you can either add to the stress of the day, or you can help take away from some of that stress of the day. And, so I think if we just try to give each other a little bit of space, give each other a little bit of grace, that I think that could go a long ways. And you just never know, what they have. And I realize that you look at YouTube videos and, people that are recording someone's action in a store, and the next thing you know, they're calling them, I don't know, some name that starts with a K, for a lady. And, I just, I guess I'll move on here, but I just thought maybe get you to think about that as you approach Saturday. We're getting into the holiday season. I think this is a really tough time of the year for a lot of people. There's a lot of emotions and stress that are there. So anyway, let me move on to something a little more positive. Heck. So as you can see, I moved down here and I'm sewing on this wallet, and I've started a couple of them. I like to try to have, when I'm making pieces that I think, other people would want, I try to give people an option to pick between them. And so I'm going to make 3 or 4 of these brown leather wallets and take these up to the popcorn guy and see which ones he likes. I've also got I've got a belt here that I'm working on, and this is for a gentleman out of New Mexico. And it's kind of coincidence, but the other day when we were talking, I was working on a gunslinger pattern that day as well. This one here is in a really rich dark brown, and it's got white stitching on it as well. Slightly off-white, but a white stitching on it as well. I've got a fly flying around in here that's just wearing me out. I don't understand what's going on there. So hopefully, hopefully it doesn't land on my forehead here, and you can watch the fly crawl across my face as I'm trying to talk. So anyway, this is a belt that ordered, and it's going to be a work belt for him. He's got tools that he carries. I've got to make a bracket that slides on here to carry his tape measure as well. And and it's going to be in the matching collar and matching stitching as well. Let me look up here. Oh, I see Todd's outside again. Hey Todd, I think you and maybe my wife and a couple other people. So maybe Saturday morning's too early or whatever. But yes, this is a gunslinger pattern, and it's going to have the Laramie buckle set, which is kind of a nice, cool buckle. It's got an engraved look to it, and it's got a matching loop on it as well. So it makes for a really nice looking buckle end of a belt. So I got to go back. So I think the important thing to try to remember is that regardless of what you've got going on in your life, there's somebody out there that would willingly trade places with you, your stresses, your challenges, because what they're going through could be, you know, markedly more stressful than what you're going through as well. So I don't know if anybody's got any questions up there. Turn the fly on, keep the fly away. That's a good idea. I'm afraid it'll make some noise. It's amazing how loud some of those things turn out to be on the camera. Plus, it's not plugged in over there. So Todd's been up since 4. Yeah, that's kind of the business, I guess. I seem to wake up early. I had dreams all night about live stream and what to talk about and all that. So maybe that's an indication that a morning live stream is not the right thing for me, because at least I would have time during the day to, you know, kind of get prepared for it. And I think my mind was trying to get prepared all night long, so I didn't get a whole lot of rest last night. So I've got, like I said, I've got this belt. I'm trying to figure out things I have to get finished. Today's pretty much my last day in the shop. I've got this belt. I've got a little holiday video project that I've got in my mind that I have to try to get that finished today as well. And we've got to deliver an early Christmas present today. I'm having lunch with one of my sons and deliver a Christmas present. And then, you know, obviously we get to this time of year, you know, all those years my wife took care of the majority of the shopping. All I had to do was shopping for her, and I probably waited till the last minute to do that most of the time. But everybody else out there, I'm sure you're doing your own shopping, and you're not just now figuring out how much work that is to try to get things lined up. Todd says, yeah, Todd, I retired in 2018 for working for Sherwin-Williams, and you know, the contractor world gets started really early each day, and I worked at stores. We opened at either 6 in the morning or 7 in the morning, and obviously you had to be there to get things opened up, and you had to get there. And so I don't know that I've ever really kind of gotten back to a unprogrammed body of not getting up early. And believe it or not, I don't really like mornings that much. I used to always say that once I got up, got dressed, and on the road, the worst part of the day was over. You know, it only gets better from there. So Todd was asking about this stitching. So when I make the gunslinger belt, I assume everybody's seen me make one before. Let me grab something else here. I'll show you really quick. I've got another layer of leather that makes up this belt. And all my belts are a two-layer belt. And this one here is going to be a 1/4 inch thick. I usually shoot for about 3/16 of an inch thick, but he wanted an extra thick belt because he carries tools on his hip all day long, and he wants something that would hold up to it. So the point of me pointing that out is that when I make this belt, on a typical belt, it's laminated together. I use contact adhesive, and then I put stitching along the sides. Well, the gunslinger pattern with this pattern in the middle here, I don't and it's probably my hang up more than anybody else's, but I don't like the looks of all of this additional stitching on the back of the belt. Plus, when I finish, there's, you know, a knot to tie and all of that, because the last thing I want to do also is have this stitching start to come undone. And when I create the gunslinger belt and also the western belt, I create the pattern and then I sew it in, then I laminate it together so that the back of the belt is it's clean looking. And this one's going to have white stitching along the sides. So the white stitching will be the only stitching that shows through on the back of the belt. And when I terminate this pattern, I finish it off with a knot. Well, you're like, well, there's a knot on the other. It is, but when I stitch the edge of the belt, that stitching is, it's finished on the fold over part where the buckle's on it. So once again, when you're looking at it, unless you really dig into it, you really don't know that, you know, where that stitching started or finished, because it's on the back side of it. And so let me show you another belt here. That's the one I'm wearing today. So this is my my western belt, and I'll show you. So I don't want all of this stuff showing on the back. So you look at the back of the belt and it's pretty clean. Some of the spots I use are even shorter than that, and I call them a spot. Technically, that's a rivet. A spot just usually comes through with 2 tabs you fold over, but I don't want that showing. And maybe it's my hang up. But the other thing is that when you look at this, the pattern on this belt, there's no double back stitching here, which once again, it's probably my hang up more than anybody else's. But my only options to create this pattern that I can think of would either be that each one of these is stitched in its own run, and then you end up with a double back on each end there. So it's got twice the thread to be able to lock that in. And then you would also see that on the back. So when I create this pattern, I'll do the saddle stitch down to here, and then I run both needles behind and then come up into the next one. And so there's only 2 runs of thread on the center of this, and they're finished down here at this end with a knot that's right here. And that keeps from having the, what I think is ugly on the back side of the belt. And like I said, it's probably not, but so this belt here will be finished off basically the same. It's gonna have stitching along the sides, but it's all white stitching on this very dark brown belt. And I call it dark mahogany, and it's a mixture of dark brown and mahogany leather dye that I mix together. I like the mahogany, straight mahogany. It's more like, I don't know if you know, anybody out there is, you know, familiar. I don't even think if they make the shoe now, I'm not sure they call it the same. I think they used to call it Cordovan, but I don't think they probably call it that anymore. But that mahogany is about that color, so it's got more red to it, and I mix it with dark brown dye to get a little less red in it and a little bit more brown. So anyway, long way around the horn to get to the explanation on that, but I'm kind of a why do you do it that way kind of a person, and I guess I assume other people really want to know the details, and maybe you wanted a 10,000 foot view and not down in the dirt with me, but now you know. And then once this gets finished here, I've got spots to go in between here, and the spots I'm using, I know they're rivets. The rivets I'm using on that, on this belt here, they're long enough to go all the way through. So like the one I just showed you there, that western belt, it'll show through in the back. So the only thing you'll see on the back will be the edge stitching and those rivets where they come through in the middle of the diamond. And the other thing I do is when I'm creating this pattern, if I'm creating it on a black belt, then I'm sorry, if I'm using a dark thread, not a black belt, but a dark thread, I cut the thread long enough to where I actually go all the way to one end and then reverse and go back the other direction, and I only have one place where there's a knot in it. But when I do it on this with a white thread, it starts to pick up color from the from going through the belt that had been dyed. And I don't like it to pick up the color. So what I do is I stitch from one end to the other and I terminate, and then I come back with another run of thread and I do the same thing again. Now, the main reason why I do that, once again, this is kind of a detail thing, but when I start off, it does pick up a little bit of color from the leather as I go through, and I put Resolene on the belt before I started to try to lock in the dye so that it doesn't affect the thread. But what ends up happening is if I try to go from one end to the other and I reverse, what ends up happening is the thread that is at the beginning of the process down here is going to be wider than what I finish. So you'll end up with two shades here of a white thread, which is unattractive to me. So if I start off with two runs and I start here and go to the other end both ways, they kind of pick up dye the same way. And once again, you know, I see that I've got 33 Ranch salary here this morning, and I appreciate you being here. But they probably understand as well as I do that, you know, it's about those small details, and whenever and maybe I'm making this in case a leather crafter sees it, or a leather artisan, or a saddle maker sees it. But those are the details that that you learn as you do the process, and that I think make a big difference in what your end project is going to look like. It's about the appearance of it. It has nothing to do with the workability of the belt. This is going to be a pretty tough belt. It's got a 1/4 inch thick leather. So, you know, you go online, you find these places that have lifetime guarantee belts. You know, I kind of chuckle about that, and I've said it before. Is it your lifetime or my lifetime? Because shoot, my lifetime, I guess that belt doesn't have to be a 100-year belt, which there's people out there that claim they have a 100-year belt as well. But this belt, if you take reasonable care of it, you don't go swimming in it all the time, it's going to last you decades, and it's not going to be like that store-bought belt. And I see Todd's asking about a belt looking like a banana after you wear it a little bit, and I can tell you that you're going to have a hard time avoiding that on really any belt, because he's talking about a dip, and the dip is where it goes through your belt loop on the back. And when someone hands me a belt and shows me that and says what causes that, in most cases, now if you're maybe a little larger than some, maybe it would have the same effect, but typically I see that on people that work for a living, and work meaning physical work, because you're bending and crouching and moving around, and when you do that, the pants bending over your rounded backside is pulling down on your belt the whole time whenever you're crouching down, and so the leather is going to take that shape. You know, when you look at belts that are store-bought, the biggest problem with belts that are store-bought are really it's the quality of the materials that they come from. Let me grab a scrap here that I pulled off the other day. I was making a belt, and one of the layers was exceptionally thick. It was a piece of saddle skirting that I had to strip some off. So I stripped off the back of that strap. Let me look here. Almost 4 ounces of leather. 4 ounces of leather is like 1.5 millimeters thick of leather. And believe it or not, there are belts out there that this is the only leather in them. So when you look at a belt, and some people on here I see would know that, but others maybe wouldn't. But when it says on the back, genuine leather has the lowest threshold
that there is of being a leather item. This is genuine leather. And I would tell you it's genuine crap if I go to make a belt out of it. So when you look at a leather belt and you see right there, I can see some wrinkles on it here from where the animal moved, over its lifetime. And there's scars here and such. This is the very top layer of the leather. And that is where the majority of the strength is from. Out of this layer here, which I think I've got about, there's 7 ounces there on this front layer. And out of that, the top quarter of it, maybe even less than that, is probably 80% of the strength of that strap. And what ends up happening is you go to a lot of these stores and, like I say, you long way around the horn to get to the explanation. But if it says genuine leather, then there's a good chance it's going to be something like this. Because if it was full grain leather, like this or this, it's got the top layer on it and the back side of the flesh. It's all there. If it's full grain leather on a belt or on a whatever it is you're buying, they're going to say full grain leather because that tells you that it's a higher quality leather. Genuine leather is just like this. And I can tell you, maybe I should do that one day. I can dye this. I can put clear coats on it, and I can make you a belt out of this. And even if I make it as thick as this, it will last longer. But what ends up happening is there's not a lot of strength to this, and those fibers start to come apart on the edges. Or if you buy one of those, $40 belts or $20 belts at some of the big stores, like, they end in Mart, it's going to say genuine leather. And what ends up happening is this will be on the back of it where it's stamped genuine leather. And then there'll be a cardboard filler. It'll be like a poster board filler that's between that and the top layer. And the top layer, in most cases, is going to be vinyl that looks like leather. And that is a belt that is stamped on the back, genuine leather. And it meets that standard. But for the person buying it, they think if it says genuine leather, I'm buying a quality piece. And this is not, this is not quality. And that's the reason why it breaks down as quick as it does. A lot of times where it starts to fail will be where the tongue of the buckle goes through the leather, and you'll see it start to fray, and then you see it looks like little white fibers. Well, it is. It's the backing of the vinyl there, and it ends up breaking across where that buckle goes through. This is not going to do that. I suppose I said earlier, if you went swimming in it, if you got this thing soaked and then you dry it out and soaked and dried it out, you did that repeatedly, it would start to stress it. But these edges here, they're going to continue to hold. That belt may not look pretty, but it's gonna continue servicing, and it's not going to be like that belt that you purchased for, I'm going to say $45, and it lasts you for a year or 18 months. It looked nice for like the first month or two, but beyond that, it's junk. This belt here, with reasonable care, I'm going to say, I'm not going to tell you I'm going to back it for a lifetime, but it's going to be, it's going to last a lifetime. It may not be as pretty as the day that you purchased it, but it'll last, and that's just with some minimal care. Let's see here. Noel, I didn't see you pop in there. I'm glad Noel's here today. I appreciate you coming and support me again, Noel. Noel's up in Prince Edward Island. And Todd again, question, my store-bought belts tend to look like a banana. I covered that. So it does help. He asked if the double layer belt helps. It does, because that store-bought belt is probably around the thickness of this 7-ounce leather. And when I get this on there, it becomes, and I'll take some of the mystery out of it. So this is a 1/4 ounce. A 1/4 ounce of leather, I'm sorry, a 1/4 inch. A 1/4 inch of leather is 16 ounces. So you can see 7 is less than, a little less than 1/8 of an inch. 1/8 of an inch would be 8. So it's going to be a much stiffer belt. So yeah, it does help keep from having that happen. But if you're, Todd does a lot of firewood. He's got a YouTube channel as well. You can check him out there. But Todd, you're crouching and bending over and running the chainsaw and down on your knees working on this and that belt takes a lot of abuse doing that. It doesn't take away from its ability to do its job, but yeah, it's going to get shaped like that. I will say though that, you know, this belt here, I showed you earlier, that I had to take off to show you. I've been wearing it for quite a while, and it's not banana shaped yet either. And I do work in this belt, so it will help, but in the end, it's still going to happen. That is just the nature of a leather belt, and it might be even more that way than those inexpensive belts that are vinyl, because they probably don't have the memory that you have when you have you know, a long thickness of the thickness of the leather. I looked up, I got Jonas from Sweden on there. He's one of my regular commenters on the videos, and I really appreciate you guys making time to be here. I mean, I think my wife's still on there. I guess I kind of expect her to be there, but the rest of you guys, that's all added. I guess I could use the live stream as a way to talk to my wife at the other end of the house. She's got her own hobbies that keep her busy. She makes cards and spends a lot of time doing that. I don't know if I got any other questions in there. I wonder if my brother John's on there. I haven't seen a what's up from him yet. He's typically on there down in Florida. But I realize it's Saturday and people are up and trying to get going. And that's one reason why I picked 7 in the morning for me. I'm in Arizona because that's 9, and I was hoping I kind of catch people Saturday morning before they start going. But probably like everybody else, or like me, everybody else has got deadlines they're up against. We've got Christmas coming. Excuse me. We have Christmas coming, and that's going to make it a challenge to have people's attention here. So I guess I'll see if anybody else has got any questions here. I mean, I hate to wrap up this early, but well, shoot, I guess it's been 30 minutes. I can ramble on. I used to tell people, you know, if you don't really want to talk much, I can hold both ends of the conversation and keep things going here. And I guess this is a test to see if that's true or not, other than a few questions that I get on there. Couple things coming up. I've got a video that's going to be coming out right after I finish the live stream here, and it's a nice beginner type project, or really you could be an experienced leather worker and make it. It's a couple of dog collars, and I think they really came out nice. It's for a friend in Texas, and one's for a 100-pound bulldog, pretty good sized dog. So it's a little bit bigger than some of my normal dog collars are. I want to make sure that it held up to that. And so anyway, I'll be releasing that. And then behind that, I've already got a half a dozen videos stretching out in front of me that are in there. And I've got a Christmas one, but what I'm getting to is, I talked about it a little bit earlier. I'm going to have a anniversary video come out the end of the month. I think it's the 29th is when I released my very first video. Getting ready to cough here, I got a dry throat. But I'm going to be releasing the video then, and I'm going to give away 3 belts. We're going to draw that, and I'm not going to use a random picker. I fill out a little piece of paper for each person and put you in there. And I'm going to draw 3 belts, and I'm going to do my classic belt as one of them, which is a belt that would be just sewn along the 2 edges. I'll do it in the color that the person wants, with the color stitching that the person wants. I'm going to do a ranch hand belt, which is a new belt that I've got out there, and this is a ranch hand belt. If it's got wear on it, it's because I wore it for a couple weeks to see how it would do. And this is a single layer of leather, but it's saddle skirting thick. This one here is 17 ounces of leather, and it's got a really nice finish on it. It comes pre-finished from the factory, and it says got Color Fast on it, and that's one reason why I wore it, to see if it would stain anything. And I didn't get any color out of it for over a week. Yeah, same jeans every day. But I didn't get any color out of it, and I even went hiking in it, get sweaty, and just to really try to give it a test. So I'm gonna give one of those belts away. And then my grand prize belt will be either the Western belt or the Gunslinger in the color and thread that you want. So, you know, last time I did a drawing. See you, Todd. I see you got to go. I really appreciate you being here. I know probably picked the worst time of the day and the worst day to do this. But so I'll have 3 belts to give away. And I did a drawing when I reached, I guess it was 100 subscribers. And some of these guys and gals out there with their YouTube channels, they grow so fast. I'm appreciative that there's been 1,200 people that have subscribed and stuck with me on here. I appreciate that. And when I had the 100, I think it was like 27 people in the drawing. And so those were pretty good odds for somebody. And a subscriber, his channel or his name on the screen is Actual Chaos. He won the belt, and I made it up for him and shipped it off. And I said the other day he was in Virginia, but he could be in the Carolinas. I can't. It's one of the two. So he picked the belt, and I think he got the Western belt. So with 1,200 subscribers, I'd really be excited if I had 1,200 names in there of people that you know, wanted to have a chance to win a belt. And the way I'm going to award the belt, it's going to be all you have to do to enter, not award. All you have to do to enter is to make a comment on that video that I put out at the end of the month. And then I'm going to have a couple of reminder videos as well. And if you comment on the reminder video, then your name goes in there again. So if I have, say, 3 reminder videos and the original video, you could have your name in there 4 times. And so we'll have to see how many times. I may regret that. I may end up with writer's cramp trying to make all the tags. And then I'll do like I did on the other one. I'll do a live stream for the drawing of the belt. And then the last thing, I said last time I'd only ship in the U.S. and I'm going to go ahead and say I'll ship outside the U.S. as long as the shipping's not more than $25 to ship it to you. So if it's more than 25, then I'll have to go to somebody else on there. I don't know what it's like to ship to some parts of the world. I shipped a package to Knoll the other day, and it was not inexpensive. But anyway, and then my last thing I'll say is I've got family members on here, and if a family member wants to be in the drawing, that's cool. John said that may look fishy, but if I pull their name, then I will, let's say I pull their name for the grand prize, then I'm gonna pull another grand prize. So I could end up making 4 belts as a result of that. But anyway, I digress. So let me move this here a little bit. So anyway, I just wanted to say, I appreciate you being here in the shop with me today. I guess you kind of are in the shop with me today. And I appreciate your time. If you would please maybe consider sharing this with a friend of yours, maybe turning them onto my channel. I sure would like to see a little bit more growth here. I know then it kind of works against you. We got more people in the drawing for a free belt. But I hope you're having a great day. Please like, share, and subscribe. Talk to you later.